premeditated serial rapist.
I haven't spoken to anybody for 5 years. It's ruined my life.
Russell Simmons built Def Jam, made hundreds of millions, and became one of hip-hop's most powerful men. Then in 2017, women began coming forward with accusations that shattered his empire and reputation. Simmons denied them all, but what happened next would take his story somewhere nobody saw coming. The reckoning Russell Simmons was, for a long time, the picture of a man who had won at life. A boy from Queens who built the hip-hop label Def Jam and turned a street culture into a business worth hundreds of millions. He gave the world Run DMC, LL Cool J, Public Enemy, and the Beastie Boys. He built fashion lines and comedy shows and made himself a fortune once estimated north of $300 million. Then he reinvented himself again as a calm, smiling wellness guru who preached yoga and gratitude. Uncle Rush, a man who seemed to have found peace. For decades, almost nobody thought to look behind the smile. Then the wave came. In the fall of 2017, the world was in the middle of a reckoning. The Harvey Weinstein story had broken open, and suddenly women everywhere were finding the courage to say out loud the things they had carried in silence for years. The movement had a name now, Me Too, and one by one, powerful men were being named. Russell Simmons was about to become one of them. On November 19, 2017, the Los Angeles Times published the story that would begin his unraveling. A former fashion model came forward with an account of something she said happened to her in 1991 when she was just 17 years old. Her name was Carrie Clausen Kalagi, and what she described was not a rumor or a bad date. It was an accusation of sexual assault, and it placed a second man in the room, the director Brett Ratner, as a witness. She has told the story many times since. She says that after a dinner out, she went with the two men to Russell's apartment to watch a music video they were working on. Then the mood changed.
Well, as the video was playing, Russell came over and started making advances.
She says she thought it was a joke at first until it became clear that it was not. She turned to the one person in the room she believed was her friend. In that instant, she says everything became clear and something inside her went cold.
And I looked over at Brett at that point for help, and I'll never forget the look on his face. It was in that moment that I realized, I think this was their plan all along.
She says her body simply stopped working, the way a body does when the mind cannot process the danger in front of it.
My body was closed, I was frozen.
She says she felt she had no real choice but to give in to a sex act. And then comes a part of the story she says people need to understand, because it does not fit the way most people imagine assault. She did not run out afterward. She stayed. She took a shower. And it was there, she says, that a second assault took place.
After the oral sex part of the story, I stayed. I didn't run out. I stayed and I took a shower, and then an additional sexual assault happened there.
She says she told at least 3 friends about it at the time, and that in the years that followed, she tried to normalize it, to fold something terrible into something she could live with. And years later, she says, the two of them actually spoke about that night, and what he told her in private did not match what he was saying in public.
We've had phone conversations where we've had a conversation about what happened, where there was no dispute of what we were talking about. We were both talking about what happened on that night, and he actually apologized.
Russell denied it right away. He said everything between them had been completely consensual, insisting the encounter was one she took full part in. He said that abusing women went against everything he believed. To his fans, that was enough. One accusation, a firm denial, a long and shining reputation to stand on. Surely this was a misunderstanding, but the thing about a wave is that the first one is never the last, and the next voice would come from inside his own world. Her name was Jenny Lumet. She was not looking for attention, and she did not need his world. She was a respected screenwriter, the daughter of the legendary filmmaker Sidney Lumet, and the granddaughter of the singer and activist Lena Horne. She had known Russell for years, first meeting him around 1987 and moving in the same New York nightlife circles. He had chased her lightly over the years, once even sending her 250 balloons. At the time, she found the attention flattering and harmless. Then, on November 30, 2017, she published a guest column in The Hollywood Reporter, and she wrote it directly to him, as if he were sitting across the table. She described a night in 1991. She was about 24, leaving the Manhattan restaurant Indochine, a place where she had once worked as a coat check girl. Russell offered her a ride home in his car, and she accepted. She gave the driver her address, but Russell told the driver no, twice, and the car did not take her home. It drove to his apartment instead. She wrote that she felt a wave of dread, that the doors would not open, that her own voice seemed to leave her. She says he used his size to move her into a small elevator while she said, wait. She said she never agreed to go to his place, and she never agreed to what happened there. In her own words, she made a quiet, frightened bargain with herself, telling herself to just keep him calm and you'll get home. She said she carried it alone for 26 years, telling no one until late October of 2017. And what made it stranger, she wrote, was that over the years they kept crossing paths at parties and award shows, exchanging polite nods, while neither of them ever spoke of that night. She said she could not stay silent while other women stepped forward. And this time, Russell did not simply deny it and move on. This time, the ground gave way. He released a statement the same day. He said his memory of that night was different from hers, but he did not attack her. He wrote that it was now clear to me that her feelings of fear and intimidation are real, and he insisted, as he always would, that while I have never been violent, I have been thoughtless and insensitive in some of my relationships over many decades, and I sincerely apologize. And then he announced that he was stepping down from the businesses he had spent his whole life building, saying he did not want to be a distraction. Around the same time, HBO removed his name from the comedy projects that once carried it, but stepping down did not close the door. It opened it wider. 2 weeks later, 3 more women would step into the light, and one of them had a story so detailed and a career so shattered by it that she would become the face of everything that came next. The Voices on December 13, 2017, the New York Times published detailed accounts from more women, 3 of whom accused Russell Simmons of rape. One of those 3 was a woman whose story would come to sit at the very center of this whole tragedy. Her name was Drew Dixon. Drew was not a fan or an outsider. She was the daughter of a former Washington, D.C. mayor and a rising A&R executive at Def Jam who helped shape hit records, including the beloved duet by Method Man and Mary J. Blige. She loved the music, she loved the culture, and she says the man who ran it turned her dream into a trap. She has described the constant harassment as a full-time job. She says he made crude comments on business calls, asked her to sit on his lap in front of other people, and exposed himself in her office, so often that she gave a male co-worker a key and told him to burst in if she buzzed. She even describes a night out when she came out of a restroom and he was waiting.
Pulled me into an open closet and I fought him off.
Each time, she says he would apologize, and then he would do it again. She tried to keep her head down and focus on the music, because the job was everything to her. And then came the night in 1995 that she says changed her life. Listen to how she remembers his state of mind.
In October, Russell was as sober as a heart attack, okay?
She wanted to make one thing clear. This was not a man lost in a haze who did not know what he was doing.
This was premeditated. He wasn't out of his mind.
She says he told her to come upstairs to grab a demo. She thought there was a car waiting for her. She was reaching for a CD when she says everything changed.
And then, the next thing you know, he's here, and he's naked and he's physically grabbing me and, it was a fight. It was a fight.
She describes fighting back with everything she had, kicking, pulling, begging him to stop.
Begging him, I'm like, you can harm me. You could literally harm me.
And she remembers the coldness of the voice that answered her. A voice she says was nothing like the mellow, peaceful man everyone thought they knew.
And then it was just, stop fighting. Cold. Stop fighting.
She has never softened the word she uses for it.
It was straight up and down, violent rage.
She says she walked more than 20 blocks home that night and cried in the shower with her clothes still on, and soon after, she quit Def Jam, later saying simply, "I was broken." And after speaking to other women who accused him, she came to a chilling conclusion about the man she once looked up to.
He is a premeditated serial rapist.
What makes Drew's story so heavy is not only what she says happened, but what it cost her. She was one of the most promising executives in music. She went on to Arista Records, where she says she faced harassment again from the executive L.A. Reid, who she claims sabotaged her work after she turned him down. Reid has denied her claims. She eventually walked away from the industry entirely, then came back briefly to help make Estelle's hit American Boy before leaving for good. A career full of hit records, cut short, she says, by men who would not take no for an answer. And these were only some of the voices. In all, more than 20 women would eventually come forward with accusations against Russell Simmons. There was the music journalist Tony Sally, who alleged a rape in 1988, the singer Tina Baker, who said he managed her before assaulting her in the early 1990s, the rapper Sherry Hines, who said she was attacked in the early 1980s, and the writer and activist Silly Abrams, who alleged a 1994 rape and said she attempted to take her own life afterward. Their stories spanned 3 decades, but the shapes of them rhymed. An invitation, a private room, a door that closed. The New York Police Department opened a review of some of the claims in December 2017, but most of the alleged incidents were decades old, and no criminal charges ever came from them. Through all of it, Russell denied every accusation of force or rape and said he had passed multiple lie detector tests. For Drew Dixon, coming forward carried a weight many people did not understand. She loved hip-hop, and she feared that speaking out against a powerful black man would be seen as a betrayal of her own community.
So I didn't want to bring down a black man.
But in the end, she decided that protecting the silence was doing more harm than the truth ever could.
So I realized ultimately that Russell Simmons is less important than the overall health of black women and men.
Then, in 2020, the women got a film. The documentary On the Record, directed by Kirby Dick and Amy Ziering, put Drew Dixon's story at its heart and explored how the experiences of black women had so often been pushed to the edges. And for a moment, it had the most powerful woman in media behind it. Oprah Winfrey signed on as an executive producer, and she took the film to Apple. For the accusers, it felt like a dream, and then just weeks before the film's big premiere, Oprah walked away. The women were stunned. Drew Dixon remembered exactly how it felt.
And it was just like the floor fell out from under us.
Oprah insisted her decision was about the film needing more work, and she was firm that she still believed the women.
I stand in support of these women. I believe them.
But she also admitted the situation had been anything but simple, because Russell himself had been reaching out to her.
It was a hard decision because I knew that Russell Simmons had started publicly pressuring me, and that me pulling out of the documentary.
She later said Simmons had contacted her more than once to pressure her, and that she had consulted people including the director Ava DuVernay before making her choice. The filmmakers said they were blindsided. But the film survived without her. It premiered at Sundance and landed on HBO Max, where it earned near universal acclaim and audiences stood and applauded. The voices had finally been heard, but the man they were speaking about was already gone. While the world watched his empire crumble and his accusers find their strength, Russell Simmons had quietly done something. He had bought a one-way ticket to the other side of the planet, and where he landed would change the whole nature of this story. The man who ran, Russell Simmons, did not go into hiding in some dark corner of the world. He went to paradise. Since around 2018, he has lived mostly in Bali, Indonesia, the same place he calls a yoga and vegan Disneyland. He co-founded a health and wellness resort there called Goddess Bali, tucked into a village near Ubud, a beautiful place of daily meditation and plant-based food, built around old Balinese traditions of healing. He posts to his followers about stillness and gratitude, the same gentle guru he has always played. He still gives interviews from there, most recently sitting down with South African podcasters in 2026 to talk about charity, hip-hop, and his lifestyle. To hear him tell it, this was simply the next chapter of a spiritual life. But one detail about his new home came up in almost every report. Indonesia has no extradition treaty with the United States. It means that if American courts ever wanted him, they could not simply reach across the ocean and pull him back. Russell says the move had nothing to do with running, that he travels to America all the time, and that he is not hiding. His critics see it very differently, and from that island safe and far away, he began to tell his side of the story to anyone who would listen. He said the numbers were on his side.
I took 9 lie detector tests. People don't know that. 9 separate. 7 from the chairman of the Polygraph Association.
Everything, he said, had been agreed to on both sides.
All of what I've had has been consensual.
He painted himself as a man of another era, a playboy of a wild time, and suggested that after so many years, memories could blur and change, and he kept coming back to the idea that no court had ever judged him, that all of this had been decided in the press instead. That has been his defense from the start, and he has not backed down from it. In 2025, he went on the attack himself, filing a $20 million defamation lawsuit against HBO and the makers of On the Record, claiming they buried evidence that supported him. In 2024, Drew Dixon turned around and sued him for defamation, saying his public comments painted her and the other accusers as liars chasing fame. And even his distance from America could not protect him forever. In June 2026, a New York judge rejected his argument that living abroad should shield him, ruling he must face a rape lawsuit from a former Def Jam executive because the alleged acts happened in New York. There was money owed too. In 2023, Simmons quietly reached confidential settlements with a group of women, admitting no wrongdoing. But by 2025, court filings showed accusers claiming somewhere between $8 and $11 million was still unpaid. The women had to go back to court, using signed documents called confessions of judgment, to try to collect what they said they were promised, with heavy interest piling up on top. The man who once moved through the world on a river of cash was now being chased for the money he had agreed to pay, and the tragedy did not stop at his career. It reached into his own family. His marriage to Kimora Lee Simmons had ended years earlier, but a new war had begun over money. Russell claims shares he owned in the energy drink company Celsius were used as collateral for the bail of Kimora's husband, the disgraced former banker Tim Leissner, who pleaded guilty in a huge bribery scandal and was ordered to forfeit more than $43 million. Russell sued both Leissner and Kimora, claiming the shares were worth a fortune and were taken without his consent. He tells the story his own way.
She gave what is now, today, based on the stock, $800 million to the government illegally.
Even now, he insists he is not the broke, defeated man people imagine.
I'm a billionaire. I live in Bali, it's cheap.
But the fight over that money came at a cost. In 2022, a court ordered Russell to pay Kimora more than $100,000 in attorney's fees tied to the disputes. And his own daughters told a very different story than he did. On Father's Day in 2023, the feud spilled out onto social media, with Kimora and their daughter Aoki speaking about their strained relationship with him. Aoki, a young woman who had graduated from Harvard, had her words read on air, and they were heartbreaking.
He's called us terrible things, all because I wouldn't take his side in a lawsuit.
She said the pain had become constant.
He literally taunts and bullies us every day. I have phone tapes of him threatening me. It's not okay. He's literally ruining my life.
Kimora, for her part, tied his behavior directly to how far he had fallen.
Now, Kimora Lee is also saying that when did all this start? It's because Russell has hit rock bottom.
She pleaded with him to leave the family alone.
Don't attack my family, which is supposed to be your family too. Don't do that because you're at rock bottom.
Russell tells it another way. He says he has always loved his children and always provided, that he paid faithfully for years, and that a mother should make it easy for a father to see his kids.
To say that I'm a deadbeat when I paid $50,000 a month for 20 years and still pay.
He describes the day the break truly happened, the day the family turned.
The day I sued her mother and stopped following me on Instagram. That day.
Whatever the truth of the money, the picture is clear. His fortune, once counted in the hundreds of millions, has by some estimates collapsed toward the low tens of millions, with one outlet placing it around $10 million after his own leaked messages calling himself literally broke. And in June 2026, he lost his older brother, Danny Simmons, the man he called the true artist in the family, one more quiet loss in a life that keeps subtracting. To understand how far he fell, you have to remember how high he once stood. He came from nothing, a boy from the Hollis area of Queens who ran with the wrong crowd before music pulled him out. He started by managing young rappers like Curtis Blow and Houdini. Then he met a college kid named Rick Rubin, who had started a little label in his dorm room at New York University. And in 1984, they made it official and called it Def Jam. Together, they took a sound the world ignored and made it the biggest thing in music, from Run DMC to LL Cool J to Public Enemy, even breaking the wall between rap and rock when Run DMC teamed up with Aerosmith for Walk This Way. He sold his stake in Def Jam for a reported $100 to $130 million. He launched Fat Farm and sold it for around $140 million more. He put comedy and poetry on TV with Def Comedy Jam and Def Poetry Jam. He married the model Kimora Lee Simmons in 1998 and looked for a while like a man who had beaten the odds twice. He built 5 charities. He wrote books about stillness and success. He was, by almost any measure, one of the most powerful men his culture had ever produced. That was the man. And this is what is left. When he lets the guru mask slip for just a second, you can hear the weight of all of it in his own voice.
All my 5 charities have gone down.
And in a quieter moment, he says the plainest thing of all.
I haven't spoken to anybody for 5 years. It's ruined my life.
He built an empire from nothing. He gave the world a sound that changed everything. And whether you believe the women who accused him or the man who denies them, one thing is certain. The story that once looked like the ultimate American dream now reads like a warning. A man with everything who ended up alone on the far side of the world, holding on to his innocence and very little else. That is the tragic fate of Russell Simmons. What do you think? Do you believe him or do you believe them? Tell me in the comments. And if this story held you, stay with the channel, because the truth here is still being written. If you enjoyed this video, click on the boxes playing on your screen to watch similar content.